What's the dumbest person you've met and what did they do to earn that title? He wasn't necessarily dumb but was gullible as shit. We used to see who could come up with the dumbest shit that he would believe. One Thanksgiving a while ago, he was asking us what is in turkey that makes you tired after eating it. Without hesitation, a friend blurted out GHB, so we just all went along with it. He was pissed when he came home telling us he spent most of his time after dinner telling his entire extended family how fucked up he was on GHB until his older brother pulled him aside and asked if he had actually dosed himself with GHB. I still think about it regularly. I worked inside a military operations center several years ago. Every night on the mid's watch, we would sweep and scrub out. One night I told a couple of guys to start sweeping and told another guy to go grab a mop and bucket. He came back with an empty bucket. I then had to tell him to go back and fill it with water. We had only been doing this for several months. Apparently, he was always quick to grab a broom and had never had to get a mop and bucket before. Definitely not stupid, but my friend sure was this day. We were walking home after a game of basketball and I noticed on my chest, in a sea of dark hair, was one white one. So, I pulled it out and tried to hand it to my friend. He just looked at me funny, so I said, "What? It's used as currency in third world countries." And he said, "Oh, cool," and extended his hand again, so I gave it to him. He saved it for 2 weeks before I told him I was joking. At work I told a woman she needed signed permission. She asked me to write down what she needed, so I wrote "get signed permission." She came back with a letter that verbatim said "signed permission." That's it. Didn't say who signed it or for whom it was granting access. And she was in her 50s. Luckily she was very wealthy, but that's probably how she managed to get through life with absolutely zero common sense. Guy I used to work with literally sprayed himself in the face with DEET bug repellent. He was trying to spray it on the underside of a yellow high-vis reflective construction vest for some reason and didn't realize it would pass through the holes in the material. There is a very long list of dumb shit he did, but that one always seemed the hardest to wrap my head around. My ex-roommate couldn't cool for shit. I can accept not being experimented, but some things are common sense. When trying to help me cooking, he cut the onion in dices and then tried to peel off the skin of the tiny pieces. He also put an egg in a pan, and hit it with a knife to break it. Somehow I envy him because he was a really happy and simple guy. I liked him. Former coworker. I'm too lazy to type out stories of what he did, but the short version is after more than a year on the job he struggled to remember how to do things I would expect someone who had only been there a month or two to have nailed down. Eventually he was fired for sexually harassing male coworkers. Kid I went to school with. If you were in detention you would have a card that needed to be signed off by your teachers, to prove that you had been in class and hadn't been disruptive. I watched him forging entries on his, where he would write "Brian was here for the classes that he had skipped, was hiking with some friends, and this girl asks, are there bush tigers here?" We were all so confused. Come to find out she was talking about mountain lions. LMFAO. That young lady was always saying some random dumb shit, but that always stuck with me. I enter easy calculations into the calculator. While doing so, I do the math in my head and ask myself when seeing the same result on the screen how dumb I am. So for using the calculator and for asking myself, I would say I am the dumbest person. 5th grade classmate. Dude was dumber than a bag of rocks. Dude got his 2 front teeth knocked out on the playground, went home, and tried screwing the teeth back and using a screwdriver and nail. Fucked his whole mouth up. Dude was a mess. Ex-Michigan State football coach Mel Tucker. Got fired after signing a $90 million contract. He masturbated in a Zoom call with a rape survivor. She was hired by the university to raise awareness about sexual violence in sports. One of my wife's cousins. Unsurprisingly, he was a cop for a while. Perhaps the most incurious, anti-intellectual, parochial and reflexively racist person I have ever known. Naturally a big Trump supporter, I once had a tough guy tell me he was going to rip my head off and shit up my ass. If you don't know, the saying is rip off your head and shit down your throat. We laughed him out of the bar. My former coworker. He was testing on our live production site and all his test 123 came up in our site search results. Then denied it, but the site has auditing features last edited by. I know a guy who doesn't know how to do multiplication and division, let alone fractions, and he can't even draw a simple straight line on the Cartesian system. This guy's 19 years old. Had a coworker that was completely illiterate and couldn't even spell his own name. He signed everything with an X instead. Still openly carried a handgun everywhere, though. This young drywaller who always bought those 7-Eleven hot dogs every day would eat his lunch. while sitting in a porta potty every day despite his crew having a site trailer. My cousin. When we asked her why she didn't change the oil in her car ever, I'll just buy a new car, aren't they like $1,500 brand new? She was 25-ish at the time. How about this for stupidity? I was working on shift with someone who legitimately didn't know what the Mona Lisa was or a toasty. I kid you not. His life goal was to successfully sue someone for $1 million and live off that money. Took me 2 months to explain all the holes in his plan. Once watched another kid put a styrofoam cup filled with borax in the microwave during a science class. So probably that kid. Boss recently got an ed for educational leadership. Soon after they asked me to show them how a spreadsheet worked. Year 8, everyone. Reddit, please tell me you know what a rhombus is without laughing your ass off at the word. I once saw this person that didn't know to use who instead of what when referring to a human being. Seen her eat lipstick. Not a child and also not suffering from any issues. She just is not bright. From a student in a 10th grade history class. Who was Christopher Columbus again? A president. I think you mean who was or whose. Good job entering the competition, I suppose. An ex-colleague who knows I am a radar tech asking me if I know what PRF means. This one girl I dated actually argued with someone's out-of-office message. All it took was when that person asked how do you spell IBM. Of course I know him, he's me. Source, me. Me, dumbass. Acting dumb till that person totally turned into being dumb.